Dear friend, if you're listening to me right now, I want you to know that this moment is just ours. Imagine we're sitting together, perhaps on a quiet Sunday afternoon, with a steaming cup of chamomile tea between us, while golden afternoon light streams through the window. I want to share something very special with you today, something I've been observing and learning throughout all these years. Today we're going to talk about something I know lives in the hearts of many of us: our self-esteem, our way of seeing ourselves, and most importantly, how to recognize when a woman like you has developed a truly unshakable inner strength. You know, there's a profound difference between the self-esteem we try to build when we're young, that which often depended on external achievements, others' approval, physical appearance, and this mature, solid self-esteem, solid as a century-old tree, that some women develop over the years. Throughout all these years lived, observing extraordinary women around me, neighbours, friends, my own mother and grandmother, I've noticed there's something very special about those who have reached a stage in life where nothing truly shakes them anymore. It's not arrogance, it's not coldness, it's not indifference. It's something much deeper and more beautiful. It's a serenity that comes from within, a wisdom conquered through every challenge faced, every tear shed, every victory celebrated, every loss processed with dignity. Psychologist Brené Brown, whom I so admire for her honesty about vulnerability and courage, teaches us that true strength doesn't come from never falling, but from how we get back up. And you, women who have already lived decades, who have already passed through so many seasons of life, springs of hope, summers of fulfillment, autumns of transformation, winters of loss and new beginnings. You know this better than anyone. You are living proof that it's possible not only to survive life's storms, but to flourish even after the strongest winds. The first sign, a loving reconciliation with one's own body and history. The first sign of truly unshakable self-esteem in a mature woman is the extraordinarily loving way she relates to her own imperfections and the marks that time has left on her body. Dear one, have you ever noticed how some women can look at their wrinkles, their grey hair, their hands marked by a lifetime of work, their marks of time, and instead of shame or desperate attempts to hide, they feel deep gratitude? They've understood something that youth still doesn't comprehend, that every mark on our body tells a story of resistance, of love, of life fully lived. Those lines around the eyes, they're maps of all the genuine smiles, of all the times life made them laugh until their bellies hurt. Those hands with more visible veins, these are the same hands that caressed feverish children, that prepared thousands of meals with love, that worked tirelessly, that reached out to help those in need. I remember a conversation I had with Mrs. Maria, a 78-year-old lady I met in a park while she was feeding pigeons. She had such radiant beauty that caught my attention, not because of the absence of wrinkles, but because of how she smiled with her whole face. When I commented on her inner light, she told me something I'll never forget. My dear, every wrinkle of mine was earned with smiles and some with tears that taught me. Every grey hair is a lesson learned, a wisdom stored. Why would I hide my medals of honour? This body has carried me for almost 8 decades. I love it for everything it has done for me. This is the revolutionary perspective of someone who has developed unshakable self-esteem. She doesn't deny life's natural process, she celebrates it. She doesn't try to be who she was at 20, 30 or 40. She embraces who she is today, with all the richness that experience has brought. Carl Jung spoke to us about the importance of integrating our shadow, of accepting all parts of ourselves. For a mature woman with solid self-esteem, this means having made peace with her past mistakes, with her imperfect choices, with who she was in each phase of life. She no longer carries that suffocating weight of, what if I had done differently? What if I had chosen another path? What if I had been smarter, braver, more beautiful? She understood that every step, even the stumbles, brought her to where she is today, and where she is today is exactly where she should be. The second sign, liberation from the prison of others' opinions. The second sign I notice in these extraordinary women is the absolutely liberating way they deal with others' opinions. You know, dear one, when we were younger, our self-esteem was often like a small boat in the sea, rocking violently with every wave of approval or disapproval we received. We desperately wanted approval, recognition, external validation. Our mood could change completely based on a random comment from someone, a criticism, a look of disapproval. But a mature woman with unshakable self-esteem has discovered the most liberating secret of all. The only opinion that really matters about her life is her own. She has deeply internalized the truth that no one else has lived her life. No one else knows her internal battles. No one else knows the weight of the choices she had to make. This doesn't mean she's insensitive or doesn't care about the people she loves. On the contrary, she can hear constructive criticism without emotionally falling apart, can absorb useful advice without losing her identity, and can ignore malicious or unnecessary comments without even being shaken. As Louise Hay said, you have the power to heal your life. And this woman discovered that the first step of this healing is not giving away her personal power to the opinion of those who don't always have her best interests at heart. I saw this happen beautifully with my own neighbour, Mrs. Antonia. At 65, after retiring from a lifetime as a civil servant, she decided to fulfill an old dream. Go back to school and take a painting course she had always wanted. When some family members said she was too old for these things, that she should accept her age and be content caring for grandchildren, she simply smiled with that serenity that only maturity brings and said, I'm glad you worry about me. I know it's with love, but I'm going to follow my heart because it still has much to teach me. And she followed through. Today, 3 years later, she's one of the most dedicated and happy students I've ever met. Her paintings decorate the entire house. She made new friendships in the course, discovered a talent that had been sleeping for decades. Most importantly, she told me she had never felt so alive and authentic. I should have done this much earlier, she confessed to me, but at least now I know it's never too late to honor our dreams. The third sign, the sacred art of setting boundaries with love. The third sign is in the way she expresses her needs and establishes healthy boundaries, something that is perhaps one of the most difficult conquests for our generation of women. A woman with unshakable self-esteem has learned something fundamental and revolutionary. She doesn't need to constantly sacrifice herself for others to have value. She doesn't need to erase herself to be loved. For decades, many of us were raised and socially conditioned with the belief that our value as women was intrinsically linked to how much we sacrificed for others, for husbands, children, parents, friends, the community. We learned that always saying yes was synonymous with kindness, that putting our needs first was selfishness, that a good woman was one who forgot herself to care for everyone around her. But this wise woman discovered a liberating truth. Taking care of herself is not selfishness. It's a fundamental necessity. It's an act of self-love that actually allows her to better care for others too. She learned that she can't give what she doesn't have, that she can't offer water from an empty well. She says no without guilt when she needs to, when something doesn't resonate with her values, or when she simply doesn't have emotional energy available. She expresses what she feels without fear of displeasing, because she understood that true relationships are strengthened with honesty, not with pretense. She understood that establishing healthy boundaries is not building walls to push people away. It's building bridges to more authentic, respectful, and lasting relationships. As Clarissa Pinkola Estes teaches us in her transformative book, Women Who Run with the Wolves, there is a wild and instinctive force in every woman that needs to be honored and protected. This force includes the sacred right to say no when something doesn't resonate with our inner truth, the right to protect our energy, the right to choose how we want to spend our limited time on this earth. I knew a lady, Mrs. Helena, who taught me a lot about this. For 40 years, she cared for her husband with Alzheimer's with a dedication that touched everyone who knew her. When he passed away, the adult children naturally expected her to continue being the same person, always available for everything, to care for grandchildren every weekend, to prepare all family meals, to be the emotional centre that kept everyone united. But she, with her new consciousness and wisdom conquered through pain, gathered the children for a loving but firm conversation and said, "Dear children, I love you more than my own life, and I will always be here when you really need me. But now, for the first time in 4 decades, I need time and space to rediscover who I am when I'm not taking care of anyone besides myself. I need to reconnect with dreams I put to sleep, with parts of me that got lost along the way." This wasn't selfishness, it was pure wisdom. It was the recognition that she also deserved care, attention, love, starting with her own. And the most beautiful thing is that when she began to value herself more, the children also began to value her differently, in a deeper and more respectful way. The fourth sign, the sacred dance with present time. The fourth sign I observe is the transformed relationship she has developed with time and her choices. A mature woman with unshakable self-esteem no longer lives as a prisoner of the past, eternally lamenting choices made, paths not taken, lost opportunities. She also doesn't live anxiously in the future, obsessively worried about what's to come, with scenarios that may never come to pass. She has learned the most sophisticated art of all, to fully inhabit the present, savouring each moment as if it were a sacred gift, because that's exactly what it is. She has developed a presence that is almost meditative, a capacity to be completely where she is, doing what she's doing, feeling what she's feeling. She understood something profoundly liberating about time, that it's not about the quantity of years we have ahead, but about the quality of presence and attention we bring to each moment we live. When she chooses to do something, whether reading a book, cooking a meal, talking with a friend, tending the garden, she gives herself completely to that activity. When she chooses to rest, she rests without the guilt that tormented her in youth. When she chooses a pleasurable activity, she lives it with all attention and love. This full presence, this conscious inhabiting of now, is something that only develops with deep emotional maturity. One must have lived enough, lost dear people, faced life's fragility, to viscerally understand that each moment is unique, unrepeatable, and precious. She no longer wastes emotional energy lamenting the unchangeable past or unnecessarily worrying about uncertain futures. She channels all her vital force to intensely live what is before her in this exact moment. I saw this in my own aunt, who at 70 taught me one of the most precious lessons about presence. She was watering her plants on a sunny morning when I went to visit her, and I was impressed by the almost reverent attention she dedicated to each pot, each leaf. When I commented on this, she told me, "Dear, I discovered that when you do anything with total love, even watering plants becomes a prayer. I'm not thinking about what I'll do next, nor what I did yesterday. I'm here, with my plants, in this lovely sun, and that's enough to make me happy." The fifth sign, sacred sisterhood, transformed female relationships. The fifth sign is the revolutionary way she relates to other women. An absolutely beautiful characteristic of a mature woman with solid self-esteem is that she doesn't see other women as competition, as threats, as rivals in a race where only one can win. She sees them as journey sisters, as companions in a shared adventure called life. She has completely overcome that painful phase when life seemed like a constant competition for male attention, for scarce resources, for social validation, for who was more beautiful, younger, more successful. She understood that this competition among women is a trap that weakens us all, that prevents us from recognizing that we are stronger together. This woman has become a natural mentor, a source of wisdom that flows generously. She celebrates other women's achievements as if they were her own personal victories. When she sees a younger woman struggling with insecurities she herself once faced, she offers her wisdom without expecting anything in return, without judging, without trying to impose solutions. She has created around herself a network of female support that strengthens her and that she strengthens in return. As the African proverb that so moves me says, when a woman rises, she pulls other women with her. This is the essence of what I observe in these women. They have become emotional elevators for other women, sources of encouragement, living examples that it's possible to age with dignity, strength, and joy. I remember an extraordinary group of ladies I met at a community centre in my neighbourhood. They met every Thursday, religiously, for more than 10 years. It wasn't a group of complaints about husbands, children, or health problems. It wasn't a gossip session about others' lives. It was something much more sacred. It was a circle of wise women who gathered to share earned wisdom, celebrate small and large victories for each other, offer support in difficult moments, and mainly to remind each other of their strength and value. Each of their meetings was like a collective healing ritual where each one left stronger, more remembered of herself, more connected to her own wisdom than when she entered. They created something we rarely see, a female community based on abundance instead of scarcity, on collaboration instead of competition, on love instead of judgment. The sixth sign, the flexibility of a wise tree. The sixth sign is in the absolutely extraordinary way she deals with changes and challenges. Life, as we all know from personal experience, never stops presenting us with new situations, unexpected losses, transformations we didn't choose, challenges that test our emotional resistance. A woman with unshakable self-esteem has developed over the years an emotional flexibility that is almost supernatural. She doesn't break with life's storms. She has learned to dance in the rain, to bend with strong winds so as not to break, to find growth opportunities even in the most challenging situations. Like a century-old tree that survived countless storms, she has developed deep roots and flexible branches. She understood a liberating truth, that it's not change itself that causes suffering, but our resistance to change. When she loses someone dear, she allows herself to feel the pain completely, honors the grieving process without haste, but doesn't get permanently lost in sadness. She understood that pain is the price of love, and that feeling this pain deeply is actually an honor to the person who is gone. When she needs to adapt to a new reality, an illness, a financial loss, a family change, she doesn't deny the difficulty, doesn't pretend everything is fine, but also doesn't allow herself to sink into despair. She finds strength she didn't know she possessed, internal resources that had been quietly developing throughout decades of confrontations. Carl Jung spoke about the process of individuation, this sacred journey of becoming who we really are beneath all social masks. For a mature woman, this often means going through a complete reinvention after a major life change. Retirement that frees her from a professional identity, widowhood that forces her to rediscover who she is when she's not being a wife, children leaving home that confronts her with an empty house but also with previously unthinkable possibilities. Instead of seeing these transitions as tragic endings, she sees them as new beginnings loaded with potential, as golden opportunities to discover facets of herself that were sleeping, waiting for the right moment to flourish. She understood that each phase of life has its own gifts, its own lessons, its own forms of beauty. I knew Mrs. Carmen, who at 68 lost her husband after 45 years of marriage. Instead of letting herself be consumed by widowhood, she decided to do something she had always dreamed of but never had the courage: travel alone. She bought a backpack, planned a month-long trip to see places she had always wanted to visit, and departed. I discovered, she told me when she returned, radiant, that I am much braver and more independent than I ever imagined. Of course, I miss him every day, but I also discovered that I can be happy in ways I never explored. The seventh sign, sacred friendship with oneself. Finally, the seventh sign is perhaps the most beautiful and transformative of all, the absolutely loving way she relates to herself when alone. A woman with truly unshakable self-esteem has developed something that is almost rare in our society, a deep, genuine and loving friendship with herself. She doesn't need constant entertainment, external noise, permanent stimuli, validation from other people to feel complete and at peace. When she is alone, whether by choice or circumstance, she doesn't feel lonely, abandoned, or incomplete. She feels in excellent company, her own. She has developed an internal relationship that is the opposite of that critical and cruel voice that often accompanies us since youth. You know that voice that constantly criticizes us, that points out our flaws, that is never satisfied, that always finds something to complain about in ourselves. This wise woman has silenced that toxic voice and cultivated an internal voice that is like that of a loving mother, a loyal friend, a wise mentor. When she makes a mistake, she talks to herself with kindness, not with destructive criticism. When she faces a challenge, she offers herself encouragement, not discouragement. When she needs to make a decision, she consults her inner wisdom with confidence, knowing she has accumulated enough experience to trust her own guidance. Louise Hay, who taught us so much about self-love and emotional healing, always said that the way we talk to ourselves determines our entire life experience. She showed us that we can choose to be our own best friend or our own worst enemy. This wise woman chose to be her own best friend, her own primary source of encouragement, her own source of unconditional love. She discovered that solitude, when not imposed but chosen, can be a sacred space of deep connection with herself. It's in moments of quietude that she reconnects with her dreams, with her values, with what really matters to her. It's in silence that she hears the voice of her intuition, which becomes clearer the more we listen to it. I saw this touchingly in my friend Mrs. Rosa, who has lived alone since her children married. When I visited her one afternoon, she was sitting on the porch, simply observing the street movement, with an expression of contentment that caught my attention. "Don't you feel lonely?" I asked with curiosity. She smiled with that wisdom that only years bring and said, "Dear, I spent decades taking care of everyone, always surrounded by people, always with my head full of others' worries. Now, for the first time in my life, I can hear myself. I can feel what I want, what I need. I'm learning to be my own company, and I discovered that I am a very interesting person." The journey continues. Final reflections for the heart. Dear friend, as our intimate conversation comes to an end, I want you to deeply absorb a fundamental truth. Each of these 7 signs I've shared is not a final destination that some lucky women reach, but a continuous journey, a growth process that is available to each of us, regardless of the age we are today. Perhaps you completely recognize yourself in some of these signs and feel that you're beautifully flourishing in these areas. Perhaps others resonate with you as aspirations, as directions you'd like to grow toward, and perhaps some still seem distant, like mountains you don't yet know how to climb. All of this is perfectly natural, beautiful, and honest. The development of truly unshakable self-esteem doesn't happen overnight, like an instant miracle. It's like planting and caring for a garden. It requires patience with the process, daily and constant care, unconditional love even when we don't see immediate results. It's a work of self-love that is done day by day, choice by choice, moment by moment. Every day you choose to treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a dear friend. Every moment you honor your needs without guilt. Every time you celebrate your achievements, however small they may be. Every occasion you allow yourself to rest without feeling lazy. Every instant you choose to see your imperfections as marks of a life fully lived. In all these moments, you are watering the seeds of this unshakable inner strength. Always remember, with all the love and reverence these words carry, You have arrived here carrying within yourself a wisdom that no book can teach, a strength that has been tested and proven by life's own experiences, a resistance that was forged in the fire of your own battles. You are a bearer of stories that deserve to be honored and respected, of scars that tell silent epics of extraordinary courage, of smiles that kept hope and joy even in the darkest and most difficult moments. Your age is not a cold number that limits your possibilities. It's a golden trophy that celebrates every battle won, every tear transformed into deep wisdom, every challenge that made you stronger, more resilient, more authentic. You are not a diminished, faded, or lesser version of who you were in youth. You are the most complete, wisest, most interesting, and most authentic version of yourself that has ever existed. Every wrinkle tells a story of expressions lived fully. Every grey hair is a medal of conquered wisdom. Every change in your body is testimony to a life that was lived, not just observed from afar. You carry within yourself decades of love given, problems solved, crises overcome, people helped, tears consoled, joys shared. As our heart to heart conversation comes to an end, I want to leave you with this thought that I hope will warm your heart for many days. Regardless of where you find yourself today in your personal journey of self esteem and self love, know that it is never, ever too late to flourish even more. It's never too late to fall more deeply in love with the extraordinary woman you are. It's never too late to discover new facets, new talents, new forms of joy that were just waiting for the right moment to emerge. Life, even at 60, 70, 80 years or more, still has wonderful surprises stored for you. There are still dawns to witness, laughter to share, stories to live, people to love and touch with your unique presence in the world. There are still happier, freer, more authentic versions of yourself waiting to be born. Carry with you, today and always, the absolute certainty that you are enough, completely enough, exactly as you are in this moment. And at the same time, keep your generous and curious heart open to all you can still become, to all the still unexplored forms of growth and flourishing that life has to offer. You are, and always have been, absolutely magnificent. You are a force of nature disguised as an ordinary person. You are a walking miracle in this world, carrying with you decades of love, wisdom, and strength that make this planet a more beautiful and hopeful place. With all my affection, admiration, and deep gratitude for allowing me to share these sacred moments with you. May you be able to look in the mirror today and see not just the reflection of a woman, but the reflection of a tireless warrior, of a wise one who has accumulated invisible treasures, of a force of nature that is yourself, unique and irreplaceable in this universe. The world needs your light, your wisdom, your unique way of loving. Keep shining, dear friend. Keep flourishing. Keep being that living work of art that you are.